I want to take a beat, and I want to say farewell to number 8. This is a very heartfelt and difficult farewell for me because nobody was a bigger Kenny apologist than me.
That should be good.
The lore of Kenny Pickett was a romanticized storyline that works particularly well in the Steel City. Yinzers aren't just diehards who bleed black and gold. We're also loyal to a fault when it comes to the belief that we are born and raised in the greatest city on the face of the earth. So when local athletes come into the spotlight with that blue-collar mentality and the grit necessary to thrive under the weight of decades of excellence, Yinzers take notice. And not in a skeptical way, but in a proud papa watching their son lead their team to victory under Friday night lights of a brisk Western PA night. Those Pittsburgh dads, they couldn't be more happy whenever they see their kid leading the team down the field. As Big Ben, an Ohio native who quickly became the adopted son of Yinzers everywhere, faded into the sunset, a sense of the team's identity went with him. The Steelers, dating back to the great teams of the 70s, have always been smash-mouth, dominant, win-ugly forces of nature in the NFL. For the years in the 90s, we desperately searched for a quarterback who reflected that identity. Neil O'Donnell was too soft. He was just too Jersey. But got us as close to the finish line as possible without crossing it, only to be booed out of Pittsburgh, back into the armpit of America, a.k.a. the Jets. From there, it was years of Slash, who was way ahead of his time, but also a far superior wide receiver than he was quarterback. And then a half a dozen reincarnations of Bubby Brister. Everyone from Mike Tomczak to Tommy Gunn Maddox, they were all just terrible pocket passers who never moved and eventually became Mason Rudolph, almost getting decapitated. Finally, we had our guy, though, in Big Ben. A nickname so perfect for his style of play and what he'd be asked to do in leading this team. The man was pure grit. So imagine the joy when we heard about a local Pitt star who in his 5th year was vying for the Heisman. The more they condemned him for his happy feet and small hands, the more Yinzers heard the local legend become its standout. Could Small Hands Kenny be the heir to the throne and lead us back to the promised land? Could Pickett to Pickens be the level of excellence we saw with the Killer Bees in Ben and AB? Sadly, today we learned exactly what the makeup of Kenny's character was. He's not the ice-cold rookie with near-perfect passer rating when the game is on the line in the 4th, but instead he's a soft-coddled, mid-tier talent that didn't have the guts to go nose-to-nose with an aging vet,
Broncos country, let's ride,
who was brought in as much as a rental mentor as he was to be a viable option at quarterback. Now Kenny gets to truly go home. To the city he grew up rooting for. The city across the state that every Yinzer has grown to loathe anytime the debate between Sheetz and Wawa comes up. And sadly, he won't even have the opportunity to compete. The Steelers are a no-nonsense franchise that reflect their fan base arguably more than any other in professional sports. And like a tough Pittsburgh dad, the brass was not about to deal with a whiny third-year player upset about playing time. Instead, they moved him in exchange for a bag of balls to an impossible situation where, unlike here, he'll have absolutely no shot at beating out the current number 1 option in Jalen Hurts. There's a lesson to be learned here, kids. Be careful what you complain for.